has been a proud city of immigrants. Generations of new arrivals, including the descendants of the enslaved during the Great Migration, created a vibrant city where 1 in 5 residents is foreign born. Each day I wake up to serve every one of Chicago's 77 unique neighborhoods and those who live in our great city. As mayor of Chicago, nothing is more important to me than the safety and well-being of all residents. And since I was elected, my administration has been laser focused on creating and implementing public safety initiatives that protect all Chicagoans. We launched the People's Plan for Community Safety, which builds trust between communities and law enforcement by prioritizing transparency and violence intervention. We established a dedicated robbery task force that reduced robberies by 25% citywide. We added
my life in the sunshine. Everybody loves the sunshine. Sunshine.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Thursday edition of Let It Be Known. And yes, as David Youngblood says, Roy Ayers, rest in peace. Lots of losses. They piling up, Niel.
No, good morning, America. Welcome to Let It Be Known, the place where we amplify Black voices and bring you the headlines that are impacting the Black experience.
Yeah, a lot. And as our title this morning on the show about sanctuary cities, I see Orangey had asked about what is a sanctuary city, and we're going to get into a conversation about that with our guest this morning. But just to be clear, a sanctuary city or a sanctuary county, they have policies that limit cooperation with federal immigration authorities. Chicago has had this implemented under Harold Washington back in 1985, and these policies include can include refusing to arrest people for civil immigration violations, refusing to detain people on civil immigration warrants, refusing to allow local police to be deputized as federal immigration agents or slave catchers, refusing to honor requests from immigration and customs enforcement, ICE, to detain immigrants, and limiting the amount of information they share with federal immigration authorities unless it's involving a criminal matter. And these policies exist to support community policing goals and public safety, and they can be used to help restore local control over how law enforcement resources are used. And so, I mean, that's
the concept,
really it.
The concept comes pretty much from like churches. You know how police officers can't go into churches. The churches are supposed to be a safe space, and so concept sanctuary city, sanctuary church. I remember back when Donald Trump was first president, a lot of immigrants were in churches and police couldn't go in there to detain them. And so that's kind of where the concept derived from. Just like he mentioned, police, slave catchers, there's a correlation.
Right. And then you have situations where you had like Houston and I'm not Houston, Texas, and its governor, Abbott, and others who bust these immigrants to certain cities like Chicago, like New York, and it makes the cities there. It causes their budgets to explode a little bit because it's costing them more money. They're told the government under Trump, for instance, when he was president the first time, they had them bus immigrants to sanctuary cities as punishment to these cities. And there were certain budgets that, hey, instead of being inhumane, Chicago, New York, places in California, San Francisco, they refused to be inhumane. They
Right.
decided
And
to.
even under the Biden administration, remember a few mayors, I think the
Yeah,
one out of Texas shipped some of the immigrants to then Vice President Kamala Harris's house. Dropped them off.
exactly. Exactly. So, anyway, I guess we'll have that discussion later. But so many deaths. We just touched on uh, Roy
Roy
Ayers.
Ayers. Yeah, you said sanctuary. When you said that, I thought about his music. His music is a sanctuary. It really soothes the soul. And
Yeah,
so many people from the hip hop era have sampled his music. I know one in particular, Mary J. Blige, My Life, is sampled from Roy Ayers. You have CL Smooth. You have A Tribe Called Quest. You have Junior Mafia, CL Smooth, and Pete Rock. Common, Erica Badu. I mean, Roy Ayers is a part of hip hop, and his music is just timeless. And that's the beauty of music of the past. It's timeless. The music of today, it goes away tomorrow. But Roy Ayers, it's here to stay, baby.
yeah, and just so you guys will know, just before the show, Nia was spitting some MC Light on us, so just say.
I'm just
But who actually lives out not too far from you, Niel. Miss New Yorker is a Californian, like many of our hip hop champions
I
that
just
went
love
went
her
west.
evolution. I love MC Light's evolution and how she always manages to keep a check. Pretty much every award show, she is the voice of God. Voice of God is the person you hear talking, but you never see. She keeps a check. And it has gone beyond hip hop, and I love her for that. I love her for that. She has this song out too, if you haven't heard it, with Mary Mary, produced by Warren Campbell, who also live out here in California. And it's just a beautiful song. I just love Nipsey Light's evolution. Super dope.
Yeah, she you talk about voices. I had a conversation with her a few months ago about because people who know I go to a lot of Knicks games, and they when they introduce the Knicks City Dancers,
Mhm.
it's the voice of MC Light that's introducing them every time they take the floor. And I
Hmm.
asked her about that, and she said, that came about. It was really by accident that came about, but she's of course well aware that, as you said, it's a check.
Mhm.
It's another check. But yeah, but yeah, we didn't mean to talk about MC Light this morning though, but it just went that way.
Right. She
Um,
sampled Roy Ayers.
yeah, yeah, there you go. And as David Youngblood's mentioned about his former law school professor and friend, Texas Rep Sylvester Turner,
Mhm.
um, died right after Trump's address. Um, I don't know if that's the audio with it, but nonetheless, what was so surprising, I was in a room with him on what's today's Thursday, on Tuesday, um, prior to Trump's address. Lauren Burke and I and other members of the CBC, and I remember he was standing up, and another journalist and myself first offered him a seat. He didn't. He was like, "No, I don't want to sit down." It appeared everything appeared normal. If you was with him as we were, there was no way you could tell anything was wrong, and he was very animated in the discussions that we had with him and other members of the CBC. He was very, very strong in his rebuke of what he knew to come, what everyone knew to come with Donald Trump's uh, State of the Union, if you will, address, or his joint address to Congress. It was weird. And they said he right after the address, he was in a tunnel, walking through a tunnel or whatever, and died.
Mm, He is so beloved in the state of Texas, Houston in particular. He was the mayor for how long? He was the mayor for many years, right?
Yeah, he was the mayor for
Oh,
many years, and of course he
years.
took over for Sheila
Sheila
Jackson
Jackson
Lee,
Lee defeating her
who
daughter. Defeating her
defeated his
daughter.
daughter,
Mm,
yeah, who passed away last year. Um, and so two Texas giants
mhm.
within less than a year, really, have died. and that's really a shame.
Yeah, his legacy and contributions to the city of Houston, Texas, I'm sure will live forever. And that city is definitely mourning him. I mean, from hip hop, I know Trey the Truth put out a message. I know Keisha Nicole, who hosts the Hip Hop Morning Show in Houston. Just so many people in Houston were showing him so much love for his contributions. I know civil rights attorney Lee Merritt. So many people just, remembering how he poured into the city and impacted something in their lives at one point or another. So God rest his soul.
Oh gosh. Um, and other news this morning, not to segue that way. Again, our hearts go out to the former mayor and former congressman, the now former congressman's family. Um, what a shame! What a shame!
It reminds me of that hymn, life is filled with swift transitions. Hold to God's unchanging hand, because you just never know. Never know. Angie Stone, you know what I mean? We have Roy Ayers.
Yeah.
You just
And
don't know.
and I just saw something. A memorial service for Roberta Flack is scheduled
Mhm.
for the 10th of this
Right.
month
And it's open to the public too in New York. It's in New York, right? Yeah, it's in New
in New
York.
York. Yes, yes.
And it's open to the public.
Yeah. RNG says Brother Turner could dance and he learned those moves from the coldest fraternity ever, Alpha Phi Alpha.
Mhm.
um, I'm going to segue just briefly Target. And so we've been talking about these what happened with the blackout day. Well, Target's online traffic again, and Neil says we got to say allegedly. But according to Forbes magazine, Target's online traffic dropped during the People's Union USA economic blackout on February 28th. Um, and while the boycott was not explicitly targeting brands that rolled back the E&I policies, Costco had an uptick in online traffic on the same day, which brought that conversation back to the forefront because Al Sharpton has he led a group of folks last month into Costco to buy from Costco as to demonstrate that we will support those who continue their promises when it comes to diversity. But according to Forbes, Target's website visitors dropped 9% um, compared to the previous Friday from 5.2 million to 4.7 million. So that's a $500,000, I mean, 500, not dollar, but 500,000 loss in visitors. Their app user traffic, which represents the most loyal Target customers, was off even more, down 14% from 4.2 million to 3.5 million. And by comparison, we mentioned Costco. They experienced a 22% rise in February 28th web traffic from 2.4 million the week before or 2 weeks before to 2.9 million. And Costco app visitors rose from 1.3 to 1.34 million. Walmart experienced a 5% drop in web traffic as well. And Amazon dropped 2%. Remember last week, and you kept saying allegedly. You said you got to say allegedly. There was a report that Amazon had actually increased 1%, but it showed here in this report that it dropped by 2%. You got to. Well, it also says that their app traffic did rise 1%. Maybe they was talking about that 1%, but who
Mm,
knows? Who
right.
knows?
And the point is that these numbers can continue to increase if we keep our foot on the pedal. So we know that yesterday, Jamal Bryant and the Black Chamber of Commerce has started the Target Fast, which goes through Lent, 40 days, ending April 17th. And so you're still not supposed to shop at Target right now if you feel inclined to do so. We hope you do.
Well, and to go along with that, we had been seeing job growth for a while under the previous administration, and in the first 2 months of this administration, the jobless rate has increased exponentially. And I mean that was to be expected with the way they're treating federal workers. But companies added only 77,000 new workers last month. It was expected that they would add 186,000.
Mm.
That's a woof. That's a huge miss right there. And it just again, it shows that these devastating policies of this particular administration and allowing Elon Musk, a South African apartheid, pro-apartheid dude run wild in America.
Yeah. And it's going to get worse. They're already talking about chopping more jobs, selling off federal buildings in Washington, D.C. And
Yep.
so, when I saw that the federal buildings, they were looking at selling the federal buildings, it's like they are really trying to make it to where you can't fix some of these problems. Because once they
Oh,
sell
absolutely.
federal buildings like the Justice Department, the Department of Education, once they sell those buildings, there's no turning back. And so
Right.
this is just another alarm for people to, if you like what's happening, then of course we're just going to keep moving forward. But if you don't, I'm slowly but surely dusting off my sneakers, Stacy, lacing up my sneakers, because at some point I think we're gonna have to go back outside. We're
Well,
gonna have to get in front line.
the Department of Education is expected to close as soon as this week. They're
Mhm.
expected to shut it down, or at least get an order to shut it down this week. And here we are, it's Thursday. So between today and tomorrow, we should be hearing that crazy news. And I mean, look, when you decide to put a World Wrestling Federation person over the Department of Education, it tells you all you needed to know.
Right, right, right. And I think another story that's brewing that's really gonna tip the scale is the story about Derek Chauvin, Dr.
I was
Derek
gonna
Chauvin.
say that.
That's another story
Privilege.
that, I think that's going to be the tipping scale for all the 92% and the 80% Black men, Black women. That will be the tipping scale, because now you're really telling us that Black lives don't matter.
Right. And if you sit here and want to support this, then you have a problem. That's
Mhm.
all I gotta say. You have a problem. It's it becomes at some point, you have certain, and even certain Black folks. Oh, it's not that bad, or it's not about this. It's clearly it is what it is. To even consider
Mhm.
a pardon. We're seeing, we just saw Virginia Governor Youngkin pardon and commute the sentence of a cop who killed a Black person. I mean, and then you hear the president saying that, what he wants to do as far as law enforcement is concerned. And you see in this is what really um, ignited global support for Black lives. It's unreal that somebody would even. I don't care what you think that this administration is going to do for you. When
Mhm.
you see stuff like this, when you see stuff like this, you got to take a pause. And
Right, right.
you got to be real about. I mean, let's be real. Mike V says he doesn't think Governor Walz will tolerate that. Governor Walz won't have a say because you got to remember one of the things that he did. And yeah, this is pretty much how Let It Be Known came to be. Exactly, Greer. That situation in 2020. But you you got to understand what Chauvin did. They married the cases, the state and federal case, and he pleaded to the federal, and so his case is federal, which gives Donald Trump the jurisdiction and not Governor Walz, unfortunately.
Mhm. And the district attorney the district attorney for the state as well. What is our brother's name? Used to be a former Congress
Oh,
member.
you're talking about the Attorney General Keith Ellison.
Yeah, Keith Ellison. I think he will be impacted by that as well.
Oh, no
But
question.
I think we saw the signs too when Jackie Johnson, the former district attorney over the Ahmaud Arbery case, when her case was dismissed. I think that was a huge red flag that got lost in the headlines. That was significant because she tried to bury that case and bury the fact that Ahmaud Arbery was murdered by three white militias. And so you definitely want to pay attention to that case as well, because I know their case is federal. I know that, they were convicted in the state, but it went federal as well. And so we have to pay attention to all of these cases and injustice that was served, and how the Trump administration is telling us that Black lives just don't matter to them.
At all, at all. And Orange East mentions that Chauvin still has a state sentence, but he will most likely end up in a county in protective custody if he is pardoned by Trump. And I'm trying to wonder, because it would be a very unique situation, Chauvin's situation, because they did marry those two cases, and it would be interesting, as you mentioned, Mike, about Governor Walz. It'd be interesting the approach that the fight that will erupt, because the sentences are running concurrently and not consecutively, and so you wonder if that pardon will absolve him of the state case in that case. I'm not sure. Generally, state has nothing to do with federal, but in this case, they did marry the two. So I don't know. Mike, you may know better than me on that. I want to get David Youngblood to weigh in, and anybody else who might understand how that works, because it's rare that we get a case like this where a president will come in and say, I'm going to pardon this guy because he only has federal authority. He doesn't have state authority. And the sentences were concurrent. So we'll see. We will
Yeah, we'll
see.
keep our eye on that. I mean, that's a huge story. I mean, 2020 was the year of DEI because of the murder of George Floyd. And all of these rollbacks that Trump is doing is connected to this case. And
Yeah.
so basically, what he's saying is anything that happened in 2020, I'm just going to erase it. And we're going to go back to not what happened in 1964 and 65 with civil rights and the Voting Rights Act, but we're going to take y'all further back because y'all
Oh,
done got too far. Y'all done got carried away.
that got carried away. Y'all done gone too far. And that's the big issue. People say, well, why Target? Why is Target but that's why Target is number one on the list when it comes to these blackouts, these buy-in campaigns, and these boycotts. Target was front and center. Target is based in Minnesota, where the George Floyd murder happened. And Target was not only that, but they were the first out of the box to start to pledge this diversity, equity, and inclusion. And Target also which is ironic that they now have reneged on their promises, because in 2020 they pledged that by 2025, which is the year we are currently in, that they would um, do some sort of $2 billion in community initiatives, et cetera, in the Black community. And of course, they decided now that they're not going to do it. So that's why Target is like number one on people's list.
And you have to start from somewhere, and although it appears that Target was at the forefront of adding space for creators and vendors of color, I mean, you have to start somewhere. And I know a lot of those Black vendors are, asking, to consider them. But it's like, I think at this point we're considering Black folks at large. And so a lot of times, some people got to suffer. And that's just what it is right now.
Yeah. Also, just now, Hakeem Jeffries, the leader, Democratic leader, and DNC Chair Ken Martin have announced that they will hold a national update and call to action. It is going to be on the leaders' website, the or YouTube page. Or you'd have to go into his website to get the link. But there are several representatives that will be there and speak. But it's going to be today at 9 p.m. So check it out.
That's 9 p.m. Eastern, right? 6 p.m.
9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Yes, absolutely. So you had a couple of quick hits you wanted to do.
Yeah, but I just want to touch on Hakeem Jeffries. I think that it's
Oh, sure.
good that he's coming out because he's been catching a lot of flack. People are saying that he's not doing enough. He's not saying enough. He's not advocating enough. He needs to get a little more Jasmine Crockett juice in his coffee in the morning. I mean, and so it's good. It's good that he is coming out in the forefront because he is the minority speaker, which makes him the highest ranking Democrat in the House. And so we need to see him. We need to know what the plan is. And if I know Mark Thompson had him on Make It Plain yesterday. So you could definitely go to Black Press USA's Instagram channel and check out that interview with Mark Thompson as well, that was a huge interview because Hakeem is not really talking to anybody. He's not doing a lot of press. He's saying less and keeping his head down. So anytime we get to hear him speak these days, I definitely encourage our viewers to check it out.
Have you ever met his brother, Hassan?
I've never met his brother.
His brother is gangster. His brother is an educator, and so if he got, it should be in that family blood. I'm looking for that gangster from Hakeem. He talks he talks a good game with Biggie Smalls and all the rap game, but I wonder if he's as tough as his brother, because his brother seems like he's a tough dude. Met his brother a few times, and his brother is something else. David Youngblood said his brother is the truth. Exactly. Yeah. His brother don't play. Brother don't play.
Homie don't play that.
Homie don't play that.
Name that TV show. Homie don't play that. Put it in the chat if you know where that came from.
Right. Y'all gotta know. Look, RNG would probably be the first one. He was supposed to supply us, by the way, RNG, with some video of you dancing, RNG, at the parade. It's still looking for. I saw one video he posted. He wasn't in the video, so you gotta do that for us. But anyway, as I mentioned, Empress knows in living color.
There we go. Ding, 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 ding.
He says, Mike says they walk around like they are on eggshells. I know the price of eggs is high right now, but stop being so passive. Look at Austin trying to show that he's a little younger than what he really is by saying in living color, but it didn't work, Austin.
No, the chat is going. The chat is chatting this morning.
The chat is chatting, but Mike, as Lauren and I talked about yesterday, you can only if you are a Democrat or if you support Democrats, you can only hope that that conversation, that session we had with them yesterday or Tuesday, was only the beginning, because I'm telling you, they walked in there guns ablaze and no holds barred. They didn't hold back, and no one at any point, not that we were going to let them, but no one at any point said off the record. They spoke truth to power. They spoke with their hearts, with their chest out, and it was really interesting to see, because they were look. They were ready for battle, it appeared, on Tuesday. So we'll see. We'll see how that carries over.
We'll see.
Yeah.
So we want to jump into these quickies. There's some other headlines. I know we talk a lot about the Trump administration and politics, which is what we love to do. But there's a lot of things happening across the country that's impacting Black America. And so we want to give you a few quickies. First up, we were talking about 2020. Oh, we're going to start with Carol's Daughters. Okay, so Carol's Daughters is returning to its independently owned roots, as you see right there. So The founder, Lisa Price, took the Instagram to share that the brand is leaving L'Oreal and going back to its roots to an independent, private, small owner who the name hasn't been released yet, but it is definitely back in full control of Lisa Price, who started those products that we still buy today. So Black ownership is still thriving despite DEI. And then we talked about 2020. In 2020, Walt Disney promised us the Tiana animated series, which was supposed to tie into Tiana's Bayou. No, I don't know if you know, but Disney World closed down Splash Mountain because of some racist connections to the ride. And so they dismantled that and created Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Now, I got to ride Tiana's Bayou Adventure this summer, and it is an amazing ride and amazing experience. And this animated series was supposed to support it. Well, guess what? Disney put it on the shelf, not releasing it. They've completed it. It's there. They're not letting it out. They're not giving it to us. And so that is just another response. Could be they didn't say it, but because of DEI, they've scrapped the project allegedly. And finally, we want to keep those prayers going up for Tony member Dwayne Wiggins. There was some rumors floating around on the internet that he was in hospice. So Tony took to their Instagram handle to say that he is experiencing some medical complications and to keep him in your prayers and just support, respect their privacy. But he is alive and he is currently healing. So we definitely want to keep him in prayer. And last but not least, Robert Clark, Mississippi's first Black lawmaker, and so after the civil rights era, has died at 96. So we want to keep his community in prayer and his family in our prayers.
Orange G says that we're trying to get a brother caught up. He said we better not mess with his check. He says we'll never catch him on the internet dancing. That's not how his VA disability is set up.
Oh, you're talking about to see the video of him dancing.
Yeah. But something else happened that was interesting yesterday too, or Tuesday night, I should say. Speaker Mike Johnson, MAGA Mike.
MAGA Mike, I like
that. His chief of staff, Hayden Haynes, was arrested for DUI after the joint session of Congress. Apparently, this individual, allegedly, Hayden Haynes, the chief of staff, and one of the most powerful non-Congress folks, non-senators and non-Congress persons on Capitol Hill, Hayden Haynes, was so drunk, allegedly, that Hayden slammed into a couple of Capitol police cars, and that precipitated Hayden's arrest.
Not surprised. I mean, Hillary Clinton called it. I didn't say it. She said they're deplorable.
She said
it. And they're living up to what she said. That's all I gotta say. They're living up to the deplorables.
So you're on Capitol Hill in a joint session of Congress. And immediately after the joint session, the president comes in, he gives his address. You got all these lawmakers there. And of course, I was at the Capitol Tuesday. The extra security, the extra Secret Service, because you got the president, the vice president, all these folks, and you got all this new fencing and everything all around. You could barely breathe at the U.S. Capitol, right? Where did you get time to get so sloshed during the state of, then I guess I'm answering my own question in a way, because if you sat there and didn't drink, because Elon Musk was drinking something, it was on camera. I don't know what he was drinking, but if you sat there throughout Trump's 500-hour address, because it seemed like it was 500 hours, and didn't drink, then maybe you got a problem. So Hayden, I kind of get it. Hayden.
I like sloshed. Yeah.
I heard that. What did I hear? I heard it just yesterday. I was watching something, and it was a TV show, and somebody used that expression. I was like, what a dumb expression, but it was funny. So I like it.
Sloshed.
David says Hillary was right about everything, and so was Kamala. We're gonna have a guest shortly, folks. So just a little banter.
No, yeah, she's communicating with me right now. She's trying to find the link, so she'll be here shortly.
Tiana is based on the late great Mrs. Leah Chase from New Orleans. Her role in the civil rights movement might be better than her food, according to Orange. She held meetings and she I don't know what that means. I normally means forward, but everyone from Dr. King. And Mike V says, remember Rudy Giuliani was falling down off the liquor at the RNC last summer, and somebody had to pick him up. Rudy's a different. She fed everyone. Okay, Rudy's a different animal.
But going back to New
Yeah.
Orleans, I love Doogie Chase. That's the name of our restaurant, right? Doogie Chase in New Orleans. And say her name one more time. The restaurant owner. You were talking about New Orleans. And
I
the
was talking about
yeah, before you got sidetracked.
Let me tell you something. My wife will tell you this, and folks who know me will tell you this. I can tell you to a T, right? If there was paper on the floor, what color, what was on that paper, from August 1st, 1979, inside my living room, better than I can tell you what happened 20 minutes ago.
Hilarious. Well, we were talking about Princess and the Frog, Tiana, and you were saying that
I was reading somebody's comment
that it was based upon Leah. I think Leah Chase. The name of the restaurant in New Orleans is Doogie Chase. They also have one in the airport. I just wanted to go back to the food because you were
showing that she's an educated Black woman, y'all.
No. I want to talk about the food because Dr. King, her restaurant was a meeting place for civil rights leaders. Like Sylvia's in New York, you had Doogie Chase. And so if you ever get to go to New Orleans, go to her restaurant. It's like you go to her restaurant and then you go get you some beignets. But they sell them there too. But the food is delicious. Best gumbo, etouffee, jambalaya. I'm a foodie. So I just wanted to uplift not only her contributions to the Black experience, but also her contributions to the Black experience from the kitchen. Delicious. I'm sorry.
That's okay, because Austin is like, he's trying to go in on me. He said I was born in the 40s, so slosh is in my vocabulary.
Oh, I'm gonna use that. Slosh, stop.
Austin trying to go in on me. That's a shame, Austin. I thought we were boys. Speaking of Austin, I gotta share this, and Greer would appreciate this. So I was watching one, I like to watch like 48 Hours and Dateline and FBI Files and stuff like that. So I was watching FBI Files, and this guy hired somebody to kill his wife, of course, and he was unsuccessful. Good, but what happened? How they caught him was that one of the guys he hired was driving, and he got pulled over simply because he was going like 45 in a 25 zone, and he was going to get a speeding ticket. The cop asked him for his license and stuff, and he was like, listen, you don't have to give me a ticket. I can give you something bigger. Just like that. Just like all he was going to do was get a ticket. And he snitched on everybody to get out of a traffic ticket. I think Austin is that you don't really have to put the pressure on Austin like that. If Austin gets pulled over, he's snitching on everybody.
Now Austin is in the chat, right? Austin is one of our Let It Be Known members in the chat. Okay, just want everybody else to know.
Austin works for the Washington Informer, and among other things, he's also Austin's also one of those guys who travel with all the big shots to Dubai and Africa and all that stuff. I had to make sure.
Yeah.
Well, I had to. Yeah, no, but I had to make sure that Austin was not doing the Diddy stuff. Going. I had to make sure because all this traveling was questionable.
Okay, we're
Dubai and Africa. I had to make sure. So I did a little background on Austin, and he's not into that freak off stuff.
Good to know. Good to
Yes.
know. Because you can get in trouble for that, especially nowadays. Okay, you might have could have did that with Hugh Hefner in the '70s,
He
but
said
now,
he was snitch. He if he's getting a mugshot, he'll start snitching.
mm.
That's
Well,
horrible.
okay. Well, let's get into some serious news. I think our guest is here now. So you brought it up a little bit earlier, and Greer started the show. Yesterday, the testimony on the Hill was all about sanctuary cities. I don't know if you saw Stacey before we get into it, but Ayanna Pressley got into a heated argument with the chair of the committee about wanting to shut her down for reading what she wanted to say as far as articles and women being attacked and things like that. So the testimony was heated. You had Democratic mayors from Boston, Chicago, Denver, and New York all testified for House Republicans who claim that they are harboring dangerous immigrants and violating immigration laws in so-called sanctuary cities. There's a viral clip right now that Jasmine Crockett put out that asked the mayors if any of the immigrants had 32 felonies. Did you find anybody in there with
34.
34 felonies? And of course,
Right.
we knew she was talking about Orange 45. And they replied no. But our guest this morning was invited to testify as well. She is the co-chair and co-founder of Chicago Flips Red. So joining us now is Zoe Lee of Chicago, who was in DC to testify. Welcome, Zoe. We can't hear you.
How you doing? How you doing?
Oh, thanks for joining us this morning. Were you able to testify yesterday?
No, and that is the part that really irritated me and made my decision yesterday, that I'm just gonna run for office because neither party right now, I said on the Breakfast Club, that both parties are trash and they need to be revamped. I did say this before I made my decision to vote for Trump. I had said this on the Breakfast Club because I've been fighting for 2 years. I've been silenced as well. I have a podcast called Dick Gregory Taught Me. In episode 6, I spoke about the 3 options that I felt like American citizens, 2 options, American citizens and then just Black Americans, freedmen can do in order for us to be heard. But I wasn't being heard. And I'm fighting the establishment currently right now. The city of Chicago unlawfully demolished my family's building, which was a commercial property. So because they did that, that's violation of the Fifth Amendment, violation of the Takings Clause, the city of Chicago it's been heavily Democratic for a very long time. You cannot run as a Republican. You barely can run as an independent. It's a machine, a Democratic machine that Daley Sr. has put in place. And they have allowed it to continue to be this corrupt. And my mother for 8 years, 2017, was fighting the city, it's her hometown, was fighting the city of Chicago for trying to get compensated for them unlawfully demolishing this building. My mother has all the evidence, voicemail from the Chicago Law Department, and they conspired and just kept conspiring, all this fraud. I mean, filing fraudulent deeds to make it seem like my mother was crazy. A lawyer working against my mother that my mother think that was working for her. She just couldn't take it no more. So she ended up going into the hospital. And when she went into the hospital, this was a couple of days before my birthday. My birthday's in January 2023. I decided to pack all my stuff. I was living in Georgia, Atlanta. I was working with Killer Mike and his wife. I packed all my stuff and I had to come back to Chicago, and I decided to fight Chicago myself. And I told Mayor Brandon Johnson, I started protesting outside at first. I used to work for Dick Gregory. So I read up and stuff like that. So I started protesting in front of the City Hall all summer of 2023. I protested outside. That man, I didn't even know who was going to be the mayor. I didn't even know that it was a mayor election going on. All I cared about was settling my mom's case. I didn't care about who was in office. I didn't care about anything, politics,
No,
none of that.
well, Zoe, let me hop in here
Sorry.
for a minute because I wanna keep us on track.
I'm pissed off. I'm sorry.
I get it. Okay, but I want to start the conversation because we wanted to have you on because who invited you to testify?
The White House, because I was arrested at the Black History event that I was invited to.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get to the White House. But who invited you to testify yesterday? And what?
It was basically what they when I reached out to them, they basically said that they were in legislation. It was Trump's people, that the legislation that they were working with the legislative affairs to make sure that we have public testimony, and that I don't know what happened with that.
So then you didn't go, and so now so that's the first strike. The White House administration told you something, and then yesterday.
And then reserve seats. I was supposed to have 6 reserve seats. They gave my seats away.
Okay, this is for testimony yesterday. So so that's the second strike. So the first strike was you were invited to the Black History program at the White House.
February 20th.
And so what happened when you got there?
I just have to give you this little background. The week before, February 14th, I received the invite. When you receive the invite, they ask you for your full name and your social security number. So just follow that, right? Now that's a whole week. February 20th come, I give them my ID because there's a checkpoint before you walk in. They said it was 2 checkpoints, but I got to the first checkpoint. Secret Service said that I had to come over to the side, went over to the side for about 2 minutes, and then they told me to come over there, go walk away from where the crowd was, and said that I had a warrant for my arrest. That was in the state of Maryland, an outstanding warrant. Extraditable. They were going to see if it was extraditable. If it was extraditable, then they were going to have to take me in.
Mm-hmm. This is again all of Trump's White House doing this on a Black History Month. Not a really surprise, but let me ask you this.
I mean, not really surprised. It's not just Trump though. Trump didn't know that. It's the people that's around him.
Zoe,
we're not gonna bash Trump without bashing Joe Biden. So that's what we're not gonna do. Because I hang up. So you want to have a
you can hang up. You can hang up. You can hang up. Yeah, you can hang up.
We're not gonna just vote. We're just not gonna do Trump because I will.
Okay,
we heard you. I got patience for us.
I got no patience for nonsense.
Okay,
I got no patience for nonsense.
I want to have this conversation because twice the Trump administration, Trump administration, which means it's Trump and his clan. Trump administration, they reached out to you to come to the White House.
I talked to Trump myself.
No, I said administration.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I can't blame Trump.
His administration. His administration invited you to the White House. They got your information. They knew that you had a warrant. They had to have known this. And Stacey knows this very well because he's been to the White House several times. I've been there
a million times.
And so you have to turn your information in. So they knew this before you got there.
Right.
We're talking about the administration. And they allowed you to come.
Right.
That's the first strike. The second strike is they invited you to testify on Capitol Hill yesterday. You said that they told you had 6 seats. And then something else happened. So with that, you said that you're not with either party. So you're not bashing Trump, but you also alluded to the fact that you're tired of the Republicans too. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, because it's a game. They're both the same. You understand? However,
Okay, that's fair.
I have nothing against Trump. That's why I voted for him. So we're not going to blame Trump on this. We were trying the gatekeepers.
We don't want to filibuster here. We just want to have a conversation.
Okay, yeah, because y'all love it, because y'all only hear
because y'all listen up. What made you think? In hindsight, now you got.
What made me think? Because the Democratic Party is trash.
What's my question? What's my question?
Because you're going to say, what did you think that the Republican Party is going to do? The same as what they were going to do. We're not going to bash. We're not going to bash. The Democratic Party has been detrimental to the Black Americans for a very long time.
Okay.
I understand your hostility. I do. I get it. I think a lot of people.
I don't
You don't have to.
A
No,
lot
I
of
don't get the hostility here. You're talking to the black press. You're not talking to Trump. You're not talking to Biden.
Yeah,
You're
but
talking to the
y'all
black
love
press.
to
Y'all,
bash Trump.
you have no
Y'all
idea
love to
what our
bash Trump,
position
but not
is.
Kamala Indian self,
No,
not
you have
Al
no
Green
idea.
Pakistan self
You have.
yesterday.
Have
That
you ever
man is
watched our
cosplaying.
program? Have you
now.
ever watched our program? Have you ever
Zoe,
watched our
now
program?
come on.
No.
Now,
No.
Zoe, you're taking a play out of their book. We don't
I'm
have
not
to
taking a play out of their book. I need people to have
You
common
like
sense.
this,
I
you
need
wake
Black
up
Americans to have common sense, and we're losing it because we're very biased,
And-
and we have to stop being biased. We have to see on both sides that there's something wrong, and we as a group of people, as a race, we don't need neither party. I'm not allegiance to any of these people. I voted the way I voted because of the Democrats where I come from. And the only way that you can do to show them that ain't nobody playing with them is to go to vote the opposite way, because we're not ready to go independent.
Do you understand, Zoe, that like you said about Chicago being a Democrat for so long, and what the Democrats have done in Chicago, which obviously doesn't sit well with you, but do you understand that Republicans, that people in Kentucky, people in West Virginia, they feel the same way about the Republicans?
Okay, well, the nation do the same thing I'm doing. Flip theirs blue.
Exactly.
Flip theirs blue.
Exactly. And so again, had you had any idea of what this show is about, I think you'd been a little less hostile, a little less
Well, no,
willing
because
to
y'all started.
jump on.
You started.
No,
with
we were. I was asking.
Trump.
I was
we're
trying
not gonna do a bashing Trump. I voted for him.
Why
So we're
not?
not gonna
Trump
do a
is
bashing
bashing
Trump.
your
Who did you
people.
vote for?
Trump
Who
is
did you vote for?
bashing. Trump is bashing everybody who looks like you, who sounds
No,
like
he's
you.
not. I don't know where
Oh
y'all
my
are.
God,
I don't know
okay.
what. I don't know where
Okay.
y'all are getting y'all news
How long are we
from.
gonna go with this?
But he hasn't
Goony
bashed
goony.
me at all.
So I have a question. So Zoe, you have on Chicago Flips Red, and you just said that you don't want any party. So
I said I'm not feeling any party.
Feeling any party. So where does Chicago Flips Red go if you're not feeling?
So this movement wasn't about a color. It was about conservative values. It wasn't about a party. It was about making change and making politicians hold themselves accountable and are on the U.S. Constitution. They do not follow the U.S. Constitution, the Democratic Party, especially now. The progressives, these progressives that you're dealing with, they do not follow the U.S. Constitution, because if they did,
is following the Constitution.
Who?
This administration is following the Constitution. What's in the White House?
They look like they're doing a good job to me so far.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. The Democratic Party. The Democratic Party
isn't
real
here. Y'all got to be real here. Come on. We got to be real here. We got to be.
No, you got to be real. You got to be real, because I'm about to hang up. I'm about to hang
Please
up.
do. I'm inviting you to hang up. I'm inviting you to hang up. I'm inviting you to hang up. Thank you. Goodbye. Good grief. Goony Google. That's what I kept thinking. Aunt Bunny. Good Lord. How stupid can you be? Oh my gosh. Y'all want to subscribe to that? Not me. Not me. That's crazy. And she wonders why she's standing outside alone, outside of the mayor's residence in Chicago, protesting. Nobody's joining her. Maybe her neighbors or her family members. Are you kidding me? Take a walk with that. We ain't got time. Playtime's over. There's uninformed. Oh, listen to the younger ones. We glad to listen to the younger ones. Nobody was capping for nobody. She's doing all the capping. Give me a break.
Well, we want to thank Zoe Lee for joining us today. Whether we agree with her or not, whether we agree with her, whether we agree or not, I mean, it's her opinion and it's her voice, and that's how she feels. And regardless of the fact,
I didn't hear
whether you're cutting me off like you cut her off. Can I speak?
I cut you off like I cut her off. Are you
You're
kidding
cutting
me?
me out. I was in the middle of saying something. All I'm saying is that you don't have to agree with somebody all the time, but her family was impacted in whatever way with her
There's a
family's
lot.
land, and she feels the way that she feels. And we were just trying to have a conversation with her. I think that, she's frustrated with the Republican Party. She hasn't gone all the way to cut off Trump just yet, but you could tell this person that was on today, I would never have thought she would have said what she said today on the call. So clearly that it is ticking at her. And so I just think that people should be able to be heard, whether we agree with them or not, and we shouldn't discredit them. There are ways to discredit them without being disrespectful to them. That's all I'm saying.
And in no way did I feel like I was disrespectful to that individual. I believe that individual, I was trying to, every time I tried to ask a question, she got so defensive and was cutting me off. I cannot sit here as the co-host of this show, somebody coming on our program and being disrespected in that way. You got to cut people off like that. And this chick,
One thing
or
I
whatever,
cut her off. I mean, when she was running off, I wanted to just get to the point. What
she
happened?
was not going to get to the
Testimony.
point,
But no,
though,
she did. She said that they told her to come, and then they didn't have her. She said that the White House invited her, and then they allowed her to be put in jail. I think those are some valid points.
No, but she didn't blame them. She said she did not blame them.
No, she blamed them. She blamed them. She just didn't blame Trump. Whatever it is, she still has an affinity for him. Why? I don't know. I don't agree with it. But let's move on. She gone.
You cannot suffer.
She gone.
I just can't. It's just it is just so the height of ignorance is what I believe we just saw. I saw a little bit of her conversation with Charlemagne, and Charlemagne, the problem there is that he agrees with some stuff, but he doesn't. Like, she wasn't making any points to agree with or disagree with. So this idea of agreeing or letting someone have their say, you didn't make any not concrete, but you didn't make any coherent statement. There was not one coherent thing I got out of that. Nothing.
Well, I did. I got two things out of it. The Trump administration did her wrong twice. I walked away with
She
that.
doesn't see it that way. She doesn't see it that way.
Well, she sees it halfway. She's blaming the Republicans. Whatever her affinity
I didn't
is.
hear her blame them. I did not hear her blame
She
them.
she said that she is not affiliating with any party now.
I understand that, but I didn't hear her
Last
blame
week
them.
she was 10 toes down for the Republican Party. This week she's saying, so something is happening over there. Something is happening over there. I mean, she's gone. We got what we needed. She was invited. They didn't let her testify. She went to the White House. They arrested her. So we did get some information out of it.
Someone is praying for patience, writes that her response is trauma-based. Somebody voted for 47 because their Medicaid was reduced, but now he is pushing to have it cut completely. And the other thing, right? And so RNG, I'm with you too. This building she's talking about, I'd like to see this building. I'd like to see.
Could have got there. I was trying to get us there, RNG. I was trying to get us there, but Stacey's patience for nonsense is like this. I was trying to get us there.
I mean, she comes in on the attack. I was letting her speak, and it's like, whatever. It makes sense. You can't. We've got so much disinformation. We got so much lies being told, and folks are coming to us. People watch us because they don't want that stuff. We can't allow. Listen, if she was making I have no problem if that's what you want. If you want to support, but answer the question. I was going to simply ask her when she jumped in, when she said she voted for Trump, and I simply wanted to ask her a straight up question. Based on what he's done to this point, do you have any regrets? Do you still support that? In fact, she did say,
yeah, she doubled down.
Did say, right. I'm like, he is hurting people. We we started the show talking about all of the Derek Chauvin stuff, that all of the stuff that is going on, the Target stuff, because of this man targeting mostly Black folk, people who look like you. And why? And so I wanted to get to why don't you have an issue with that?
I think you said somebody in the chat said trauma. I mean, in hindsight, I really feel that way about her. And I think a lot of the frustration is, she's riding for them, but they ain't riding for her. She riding hard for Trump, and he let her get arrested. In his administration is a reflection of him. He let
And
her
as
get
you was
arrested.
pointing out to her, they knew she was taking that trip. They knew what they were going to do to her on a
Mhm.
going to celebrate Black history at the White House. They knew what they. You always have to. She doesn't have a hard pass like we have, so you can't just walk into the White House like we can, right? We just have to go through the metal detectors. She has to go through Secret Service and everything. Visitors have to do that. They get your information at least a week in advance. So
I
you,
remember. It's
yeah.
a process.
So you was just being made an example out of, really, and you can't see that.
Or the fact that because she was excited to be able to go and testify and tell
Right.
her story on Capitol Hill. And
And
she
that
said
they
they
control
reached
that.
out to her and
Mhm. Mhm. They control that hearing. This is a Republican-led legislature. They control that. They took her seats. They denied her the opportunity to speak. That wasn't Joe Biden.
I think
That
there's a
wasn't
lot of
Kamala Harris.
frustration. Yeah, I think there's a lot of frustration to where she thought maybe she was going to get the support from this administration, and now she's still left because she's at City Council in Chicago every week. She's there, and I really believe she thought she was going to have more support because she gave the support, and there's no support for her, and she's frustrated. And that's all I heard. Like to the
I wonder.
chat, the trauma.
I wonder if Chicago had a white mayor, she would have a problem with. I wonder.
Mm.
I wonder if she would have these grievances if the folks had Black interests. If she felt if there was an overwhelming amount of people, like there's an overwhelming amount of people, Black, white, others, who understand, who easily see that this administration has uh, a white supremacist agenda. If she would have protested so hard against white folks, and I think what happens is more than that. Just like when Obama was president, there was a faction of Black people who wanted him to do Black things, what they considered Black things, right? And he said, well, whether you agree with him or not, because a lot of stuff, I think he fell short on, in my opinion. But whether you agree with him or not, he said, I am not the president of Black America. I'm the president of all of America. And I think that sometimes because a person is Black, it's like businesses. We scrutinize to a T our Black businesses, that we don't put that same scrutiny on white businesses. I was in a meeting. I mentioned this before. I was in that room with Isaac Hayes and the shareholders over there at Fanbase, and the way they were coming at Isaac. I wondered, and I said this in the group,
Mm.
if Elon had this same meeting for Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, would these people be coming at Elon like this? See, I think sometimes we
Mhm.
as Black people uh, feel like we can get away with stuff when it and be more critical because it's Black. And I think that's where she's at with the mayor of Chicago, because it's not just this Black mayor she's had a problem with. She had a problem with Lori Lightfoot. She had a problem with other Black Chicago mayors. So I've not heard, I've looked it up. I've not seen any evidence that she's ever protested anything white or the white establishment ever. So to me,
That's interesting.
that
Okay.
yeah,
I
that
understand your
takes
point.
it takes your legitimacy away, if in my opinion.
You know, I wish her the best. I hope she gets her mother's property back, and I hope that she continues to unravel and understand that the Republican Party or the Donald Trump, because it's clearly not the Republican Party, it's Donald Trump. Donald Trump has no best interest for her. None of her interests he don't give a damn about. He's the type of person that will buy your mama's property just so you can't have it because you black. Now I do believe that. You know what I'm saying? And I just like to have open dialogue because I think that's what our country is getting away from. Is
Mhm.
that we can agree to disagree. Like I always say, a broke clock, which is a proverb that I've learned from the elders, a broke clock is right twice a day. You know what I'm saying? So,
What about a clock that's been destroyed?
well, I'm talking about the round ones.
I'm just talking. Listen,
I'm talking about the
because
round
not all
ones.
clocks
Tick, tick,
are the
tick,
same.
tick, tick, tick,
Flavor Flav will tell you that.
Um, but yeah, you know, and I just like to have open dialogue, and I do see that her infinity towards that party is slowly breaking. You know, the egg is shattering. You know,
But
so I see it.
and I want to make clear, I have no problem with
I know,
anybody supporting whoever they want to support, whatever party they want. I could care less about these parties,
I
right?
know.
My job is to report, and my job is to bring information, but my job also is to be the gatekeeper of facts.
Mhm.
It's just like you guys. I mean, you tell me if when my facts are off. You know, we have editors that say, "Oh, yeah." You know, one of the best editors we have in the black press is Misha Green at the Washington Informer,
Mhm.
and you send copy to her, and she'll send it back. Hey, maybe you need to do this or do that. None of us are perfect,
Right.
right? But it has to be factual based. It's not about opinion. You know, you said, you know, she has an opinion. I didn't hear an opinion. All I heard was somebody who decided that they were going to come in guns a blazing, shooting you know, blindly shooting. And I asked her, and what did she say? I said, have you watched this show before? See, do your homework. We have to do our homework knowing she's coming on. That's why I know that she's never protested anything white. She was not out there Black Lives Matter. She was not out there saying that you know Eric Garner's death was wrong.
And see, I wanted to get to that. I wanted to know what she thought about the Derek Chauvin situation. I wanted to know these types of things. You know, but
Yeah. But the moment a black mayor, a black governor, a black president does something she doesn't like, she's got her bullhorn and her signs.
all right, well, she's gone. So let's move on. Like as Kenya Moore said, she gone with the wind. She not here no more. You know, two takeaways. The Trump administration dissed her twice. Yesterday at the hearing and got her arrested at the White House. Those are facts. That's not an opinion. That's fact. Okay? They knew she was coming. And somebody within that Trump administration could have told her, before you get here, you need to, you know, you have, or this came back. Before you get here, fix this. They didn't do that for her. They didn't show her no grace. Yesterday, she was really excited to go and testify. She said she had 6 seats, so you know she was excited. Snatched the rug from up under her too. You can't really feel sorry because we knew what this administration is capable of. But I'm hoping that the more she sees, you know, maybe, you know, a year down from the line, she'll come back on and apologize, Stacey, because you were right. And I hope you accept it if it happens.
Listen, like I said, you can pull for whatever party you want. That's not the issue. The issue is just simple. Let's talk facts. I just want because people deserve facts. I said it. I'll keep saying it. There's nowhere else where they turn to for facts. And if we go down that rabbit hole, then what good are we?
Right. But this show, it's facts, it's news, it's views and opinions. And you might not always agree with the views or opinions, but they belong to that person. And those belong to her. And that's what she feels in her heart. So God bless.
And right, and that was all I wanted to get her views. But the views was just so out there. She's like a space cadet. I, I mean,
See, that's
anyway, it's
that's where I think she had a conversation with Danny. So
another one.
you can't be saying space cadet and all. Stop. Let's move on. Let's just move on.
Oh, goodness grief. And let me say this about immigration. Nothing to do with her. I mean, I know that was part of her platform, but once again, I will say this: my final stuff about immigration. I've said this before. Immigration plays a vital role in bolstering the United States economy. They expand the labor force, Niel, and are more likely to start new businesses compared to native-born individuals. Immigrants, and this is stats from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. This is stats from the Joint Center, a Black think tank. This is stats from the KFF as well. 30% immigrants were involved in developing 30% of patents in strategic industries, and over 40% of Fortune 500 companies were founded by immigrants. Furthermore, undocumented immigrants, if you want to complain about them, contribute significantly to federal programs. For instance, they pay approximately, get this, undocumented immigrants pay approximately $12 billion a year into the Social Security Trust Fund, even though they are ineligible to receive Social Security benefits. And let's talk about crime when it comes to immigrants, because all of the reports show that immigrants are less likely to commit crimes than native-born Americans. In fact, a number of studies, and I did my homework. That's why I said she didn't do her homework. But anyway, show that first-generation immigrants have not been more likely to be in prison than U.S.-born individuals since 1880. In fact, today, immigrants are 30% less likely to be incarcerated than U.S.-born individuals. And let's talk about these sanctuary policies for 1 second.
Okay.
These sanctuary policies show that the cities who have or have declared themselves to be sanctuary statistically have significantly lower crime rates compared to non-sanctuary counties and cities. Undocumented immigrants, they're not eligible for most federal benefits, including Medicare, non-emergency Medicaid, and CHIP. So their participation in these programs is extremely minimal. They don't participate. So they contribute a whole lot, more than a lot of non-immigrants. And then if you want to bring it to Chicago, in 2018, immigrant-led households in Illinois paid $12.7 billion in federal taxes and $7.7 billion in state and local taxes, and their spending power, $48 billion after taxes. And one last thing, when we're talking about Chicago specifically, several studies concluded that in Chicago, neighborhoods with at least 40% immigrant populations were 80% less likely to experience violence than those in neighborhoods without immigrants. So there you go. Immigration is not your problem. It's not Chicago's problem.
No, it's not. It's not Chicago's problem. I would like to see them figure out how to stop the violence and the murders and the killings. That's a huge problem that impacts our communities of color. There are a lot of things. Like I say, I don't think that anybody debates that this country needs to take a deep dive into the immigration reform, like just overall immigration reform. But to single out a certain group of people and put it all on them, but not talk about the European immigrants that are coming over here, from Europe, Ireland, Greenland, like those are okay. So, but the people of color immigrants are the issues that this Republican Party, and I think that is the biggest issue. We definitely don't want to forget that today the House is voting to whether or not they're going to censure Al Green, Representative Al Green, who was the first to file articles of impeachment against Donald Trump his first term. And he brought up the conversation again this time around. He spoke truth to power. We know when we see the State of the Union, there's always people clapping, responding, saying this or that. So to remove him from the speech was disrespectful. A lot of people feel, but today they're really voting on like what they did to the Tennessee Three last year before last, and so we definitely want to pay attention to this. Send all our support to Representative Al Green. Greer is putting in the chat that Zoe calling him Pakistani was ridiculous and disparaging Kamala Harris, it was disrespectful. It was unnecessary. And so, it's just sad, the state of our nation, the state of the Black community, to where we can't even have conversations anymore without being disrespectful. It's really heartbreaking.
And I said I was done with the immigration, but one last small point. Everybody has a problem with immigrants, but then there's this South African guy who is just ruining lives all over. And today he is meeting again with the U.S. Senate, Republicans in the Senate, to try and figure out more ways to hurt American people.
And America is built on immigrants, the treacherous European immigrants that washed ashore up here. As treacherous as that, that's where I think Donald Trump and all them Republicans come from. They remind me of those treacherous people that came to Jamestown. Just horrible people. Those are their ancestors. Just like we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors, they got ancestors too.
Yeah. It's sad when you see these people that are being crushed. And your heart goes out to them if you have any sort of humanity about yourself. So many are being hurt, and
it's the fear, it's the terror. I know
the
when
terror, right?
I went to church on Sunday, and the pastor talked about my mother and grandmother's church is in South Central LA, and so the pastor spoke about how ICE did a raid on the block that the church is on. And he spoke about how he was going to talk to the city council members, Curran Price, who presides over that district. But it just, spoke to the terror that when these ICE, units come in, it terrifies that neighborhood. And so those people don't come out of their houses. They're afraid to go to the grocery store. And that's what you call terror. We think about Hamas, and they want to talk about the Palestinian, what's the group Hamas, and you want to think about Bin Laden and all these different people, but some of the most treacherous terrorists are white folks right here in America, and they're pushing an agenda.
Right. And listen, you can come and you can tell us how bad Joe Biden was in your eyes, how bad Kamala Harris may have been, or whatever. Hey, that's fine. That's fine. But like I keep saying, bring facts, but don't also understand. And like you said, for a moment there, she was like, I'm tired of both sides. Right. And you could see, I totally get that. Totally get that. But to hold someone, especially, well, anybody for that matter, but to hold someone up as infallible, someone like Trump, come on. I think that's where she probably lose even some of her own supporters with that one, because you can't do that. You just can't do that, because look, we've criticized Biden, we've criticized Harris, we certainly have criticized Obama.
Right.
You gotta be balanced, right? And your guy is, not only is your guy not perfect, but my gosh, he's wrecking absolute havoc on not just black folks, but the LGBTQ community, poor white folks, women, you name it.
And that was another question I wanted to get with Zoe about. Hopefully we can have her back on about, you know, the queer community. You know, how do you feel? She just text. She said, let me read her text. Unless people are ready to hear my whole story and why I voted the way I voted, it's really no point of these interviews, because people are she says, because people are brainwashed or choose to not be open-minded and see different angles. So, okay, let's move on. You know, let's talk about some Black history, some Black excellence, and we've come this far by faith. Okay, let's do that. Can I start it off?
Go right ahead.
And this is why we feel the way we feel, because on this date in 1857, the Dred Scott decision of the Supreme Court denied Blacks U.S. citizenship and denied the power of Congress to restrict slavery in any federal territory.
And look at that.
Look,
Once again,
full circle. Full circle.
it's just, you know, it's the drum beat continues, right? And that's where you don't think that's where they're taking things or trying to take things. Come on, this is where things are going to wind up, in the streets. Like I think you said it at the top. You know, y'all gonna be grabbing the Vaseline and taking the earrings off for real.
Okay. All right. Lace up them sneakers. It's coming.
Right.
It's coming. I feel it. I feel it. You know,
Greer's been saying this for 2 years. So this was long before the election. Long before the election, long before you even thought that this guy would win again, would be in a position. Even when you thought maybe he would go to prison. She's been saying this for 2 years now, that it's coming. And here we are. Here we are. Also on this date in 1972, Zoe, how you say her last name? Duzane, Seattle's first professional modern art dealer, introduced modern art to many residents of the Puget Sound region, and I probably didn't say that right either, right? And helped to catalyze the rise and international fame of the Northwest School of Artists. Another fun fact about Zoe Duzane is that her family was a founding family of the NAACP.
I love it. I love it. And our paper of the day is the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint. They've been around for over 6 decades, and they have faithfully reported on news from the African American perspective, and presented this information to communities of San Diego County, from small church gatherings to major political campaigns. Now, the publication can be found in all 89 zip codes of San Diego and has a readership of over 20,000. Dr. John Warren is the publisher of the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint. And he's a 64-year-old nationally awarded winning publication. And so the emeritus, Dr. Warren, and his late wife and co-publisher, Jerry Warren, worked diligently in the community to make the publication what the people wanted. And what I love about Black newspaper is that it's news, views, and advocacy. You know, the Black press doesn't just talk about it, but you might find them on the front line lacing up their tennis shoes too.
Here we go. Well, oh boy, if nothing else, Neil's gonna make sure those tennis shoes, as they call it out west, out in California,
sneakers. What you call them? Sneakers.
We call them sneakers. He gotta lace them up.
We say purses, y'all say pocketbooks.
There you go. There you go. It's that whole LA thing, man. Oh
Right.
God.
Or
Yeah.
we say soda, and in Chicago they say pop.
Pop.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, just differences.
Yeah. It's look. Too much.
But-
Too much.
right.
I
Too
drink
much.
soda, not pop.
Yeah, there you go. But you
Um,
guys always know, if you want to get the best in Black news and find out what's happening across Black communities across the country, you can always visit blackpressusa.com, bringing you the Black experience in its totalities, from the good, the bad, the rhythms, the blues, and the best of what Black America has to offer.
we gotta get rid of that Kente cloth. It's time to move to something else now. Come on with that. It's been real,
Yeah,
and
you did
tomorrow's a
good
new day.
today, Stacy. You did good today. You was a little spicy, but you didn't, give them Tabasco. So we
I didn't
appreciate
give him
that.
Tabasco. Oh,
No,
okay.
you gave them hot sauce.
Well,
You
some
gave them
hot
a little hot, spicy stuff, but it wasn't like. So we're getting it.
we're getting there. It's a work in progress.
Ain't we all? Ain't we all?
Thanks again. Again, listen, Orangey, he says he's talking about the Dred Scott decision, and look, he says ask Zoe about that. So it's a whole lot. So look, that is what it is. We have there are some folks who are going to fight with you, and then there are those who are going to fight against you, and they're going to join the enemy. And
And then there's some that you can learn to agree to disagree.
Oh, I totally disagree.
And I agree with that.
Hey, look. Just before we go, we got to go. But Neil, the glasses again. Look, y'all checking out the glasses today?
Thank
Come
you,
on, the
guys.
merch.
Thank
Look
you
at the
so
merch.
much.
There you go. There you
Thank
go. Another in a catalog full of these eyewears that she busts on us every morning. So if you don't watch for any other reason, watch to see what kind of glasses she wears.
No, they
tomorrow.
gonna watch to see what Republican we gonna have on to watch you go off.
We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Let it be known.